Welcome to my channel. Here I share my learnings and views on Agile, innovation, technology, and leadership in general.
Hi Mike, hi Sarah. Welcome to this fireside chat. Today's topic is very close to both of your hearts. The topic, as you know, is deployment strategies. And both of you come with actual experience of implementing different deployment strategies in your careers spanning over 3 decades. Let me ask this first question to Mike. What are the different deployment strategies?
Thanks, Sarah, for the warm welcome. And yes, you are right. In my 30-plus years of experience, I have implemented various deployment strategies. There are several deployment strategies for software applications. Let me state some of the key ones that are on top of my mind at this point of time. The first one that comes to my mind is blue-green deployment. This involves deploying a new version of the application to a separate environment, and then switching traffic to it once it is fully tested. The next one I can think of is Canary Deployment. This involves gradually rolling out a new version of the application to a small subset of users, and gradually increasing the number of users until it is fully deployed. A/B testing deployment is another strategy. In this strategy, 2 different versions of an application are deployed to a small subset of users. We then study and compare their behavior to determine which version should be deployed to the rest of the users. I am sure you have heard of rolling deployment too. In rolling deployment, individual servers or components are gradually updated, rather than deploying all at once. And finally, sometimes a hybrid deployment strategy I also adopted, which involves combining different deployment strategies to achieve specific goals. As you would agree, each deployment strategy has its own benefits and drawbacks, and the appropriate strategy will depend on the specific requirements of the application and the organization.
Thanks, Mike. Sarah, would you like to elaborate Canary Deployment, please?
Sure, Lena. Canary Deployment is a software deployment strategy in which a new version of an application is gradually rolled out to a small subset of users, before being gradually increased to a larger group, and finally to the entire user base. The goal of this deployment strategy is to reduce the risk of releasing a new version of the application by allowing it to be tested by a small, representative group of users before being widely deployed. Here's a step-by-step process of a typical Canary deployment. New version of the application is built and tested. A new version of the application is developed and thoroughly tested in a staging environment to ensure that it meets the desired quality and performance standards. Gradual rollout to a small subset of users. The new version of the application is deployed to a small subset of users, such as 5 to 10% of the total user base. This group is chosen to be representative of the wider user base, so that any issues that arise can be identified and addressed before wider deployment. Monitoring and analysis of performance. The performance and behavior of the new version of the application is closely monitored and analyzed for any issues or unexpected behavior. This helps to identify any potential problems before they become widespread. Gradual increase of user coverage. If the new version of the application is performing as expected, and no significant issues have been identified, the coverage of the new version can be gradually increased to a larger subset of users. This process is repeated until the new version has been deployed to all users. Fall back to previous version if necessary. If any serious issues are identified during the rollout, the deployment can be rolled back to the previous version of the application to minimize any disruption to users. Canary Deployment offers several benefits, including reduced risk of disruption to users, improved quality and reliability of new releases, and increased confidence in the ability to quickly recover from issues if they arise. However, it can also be time-consuming and complex to implement, particularly for large applications with a large user base.
Thanks, Sarah. Mike, my next question is for you. Could you please explain rolling deployment?
Rolling deployment is a software deployment strategy, in which a new version of an application is gradually updated, individual servers or components at a time, rather than deploying all at once. The goal of this deployment strategy is to minimize downtime and ensure a smooth and seamless transition to a new version, while also reducing the risk of issues arising from a full-scale deployment. Here's a step-by-step process of a typical rolling deployment. New version of the application is built and tested. A new version of the application is developed and thoroughly tested in a staging environment to ensure that it meets the desired quality and performance standards. Gradual update of individual servers or components. The new version of the application is gradually rolled out to individual servers or components, such as database servers, web servers, or cache servers. This allows the deployment to be monitored and tested as each component is updated. Monitoring and validation of performance. The performance and behavior of the updated components are closely monitored and validated to ensure that the new version is working as expected. If any issues arise, the deployment can be rolled back to the previous version without affecting the entire application. Repeat the process for remaining components. The process of updating individual components is repeated until all components of the application have been updated. Switch traffic to the new version. Once all components have been updated, traffic is switched to the new version of the application to ensure that all users are accessing the latest version. Rolling deployment offers several benefits, including reduced downtime, improved quality and reliability of new releases, and increased confidence in the ability to quickly recover from issues if they arise. However, it can also be time-consuming and complex to implement, particularly for large and complex applications.
Thanks, Mike. Sarah, the next question is for you. There is a lot of talk about blue-green deployment. Could you please explain it?
Blue-green deployment is a technique for releasing new versions of a software application with zero downtime. It involves deploying the new version of the application alongside the current version, allowing the new version to be tested in a production-like environment before switching all traffic over to it. The current version of the application is referred to as the blue, while the new version is referred to as the green version. The technique was pioneered by Martin Fowler and was made popular by companies such as Netflix, Amazon, and LinkedIn. The main idea behind this technique is to minimize the risk and impact of deploying new versions of an application by testing the new version in a live production-like environment before making it the active version. Blue-green deployment allows for a quick rollback in case something goes wrong, and also minimizes the downtime during deployment, as only a small amount of traffic is routed to the new version during the initial testing phase. This technique is particularly useful for companies that have a high traffic volume and require zero downtime deployments. In summary, blue-green deployment is a technique to deploy new version of an application with zero downtime, and is commonly implemented by companies like Netflix, Amazon, and LinkedIn for their high-traffic applications.
It was wonderful talking to both of you and knowing about various deployment strategies. Thank you and see you both later.
If you have not yet subscribed to this channel, please hit that subscribe button now and share your views and suggestions so that we can do a better job next time. Thank you.